In this video, I'm going to be talking a little bit about the Manosphere and Andrew Tate, I guess. If you have the pleasure of not knowing who Andrew Tate is, I'm sorry in advance. Andrew Tate, who also refers to himself as Top G, is one of the most popular creators in the Manosphere. Or he was, until he was arrested and charged for human trafficking and exploitation of women, but we'll touch on that in a bit. He creates content focused on giving advice to young men on topics like relationships, financial gain, fitness, and what it means to be a
high-value man.
On the surface, this advice seems like it would be helpful and well needed during a time when everybody is striving for growth and self-improvement. Unfortunately, though, Tate's advice is often dripping with misogyny, radical masculinity, and extremist views, and that makes it difficult to see his advice as anything but actively harmful, let alone helpful. In 2022, Andrew Tate was the most Googled person of the year. That blue line is him, and as you can see, he spiked in popularity, or infamy, in late July of that year. He was subsequently kicked off of most social media platforms around a month later, but when Elon Musk bought Twitter, his account was reinstated and now has around 8.4 million followers who get to read posts like these.
Genghis Khan had endless women and 200 children as a reward for conquest. He tweeted, "I'm the most searched man on the planet. I've conquered Earth. I'm the highest status male on the planet. Females do not expect loyalty from me. They only expect that of lesser men." Then there was this: imagine having less than 10 children because you're a who doesn't have 4 wives. Genetic failures. Finally, if a girl follows me and she's hot and I see a single picture of her in a private jet, it's block. Women can't afford jets. Women are all brokies. Why are you flying around on some man's jet? You should have been a virgin when I met you.
These tweets show a lot about how Andrew Tate perceives himself, the men around him, and especially women. And some of the clips that I've compiled here elaborate on these opinions, so enjoy. Well, you probably won't enjoy them, but here they are anyway.
Men can cry too, there's nothing wrong with it, and there absolutely is something wrong with it, and I'll explain to you why. Life as a man is far more difficult than life as a woman, and one of the key components of manhood always has been and always will be, we have the ability to control ourselves and not act emotionally. Females are more emotionally driven, more emotionally impulsive than a good man should be. Saying that I felt like crying so I cried, this makes me a real man, is as stupid as me saying, well, I felt like smashing his face in, so I smashed his face in. This makes me a real man. No, the hallmark of a real man is controlling himself, controlling his emotions, and acting appropriately regardless of how he feels. And throughout human history, this is exactly how men had to live their lives. You need to become the kind of person who doesn't take disrespect from females. Why are you going to take disrespect from people? Why are you going to have a woman live in your house, and if someone breaks into the house, you have to go downstairs and face an attacker who could have a fucking machine gun? You have to go down there as a man to protect her. But when you ask her for a cup of coffee, she's going to give you attitude. Mm-hmm. And you're going to accept that shit. You're going to sit there and go, oh, well, she's had a long day. I don't give a fuck how long your day is. Mm-hmm. I asked for coffee. I pay for this house. I'll risk my life to keep you alive. If you don't want to make me a cup of coffee, that's perfectly fine. Pack a fucking bag. Mm-hmm. Get out. I've had that exact situation happen to me, and girls go to me, you're fucking crazy. You're crazy. I'm like, bitch, get the fuck out.
So I wanted to pause to point out that at the bottom of the previous clip, there was a link to a website called Hustlers University. This is Tate's website where he hosts classes to essentially teach other people how to be as financially successful and skilled at social media marketing as he is, aka how to exploit and manipulate your way to the top. I did a little digging though and found that Tate actually has multiple of these websites, most likely because so many platforms have been trying to remove him from the internet altogether. That being said, I believe this website, University, is the most recent page, so I wanted to look at it briefly to understand exactly what he's selling. As we start to scroll, we can see that Tate is using a lot of educational imagery, but doesn't seem to see the value in higher education beyond a financial standpoint. He even denounces traditional university as a whole, saying that it's not worth it to attend. He then goes on to say that he can provide a quote-unquote better option. As we might have expected, the alternative to university is Hustlers University, also called the real world. This title is reminiscent of one value of the Manosphere as a whole, the black pill. Currently, we are all living in ignorance of what the world truly consists of, but for the discounted price of $49.99 a month, Andrew Tate can teach us everything we need to know. I wanted to point out that time pressure is also used on his site with the phrase, "You need to act now." Time pressure is a tactic used to make people feel like they have to commit now in fear of missing out on a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I also felt like it was important to highlight the fact that you don't even have to be 18 to join Hustlers University, but you are encouraged to get a parent's permission, meaning that it's not mandatory to do so. That's probably important to clarify on Tate's website because most of his fans are teenage boys. Anyway, back to the clips.
As a guy, lots of guys are like, well, what if I just want one girlfriend? I was like, if you want one girlfriend, you better go fuck 20 chicks. And then you're going to end up with one good girlfriend. The world we live in now, like, I'm not saying you can't train any girl, but I'm saying some blueprints are better than others. So you need to go out there and you got to run the game a bit to find one that isn't a complete mess to begin with. Like, you're going to pick something. If you're going to fall in love with the first girl you bang, she might have a whole host of issues. Why are you dealing with that shit for? You know, like, you want to build a race car. You want to start with a Ferrari. You don't want to start with a fucking pedal bike. That's the point. So, also having the game and being able to have access to lots of females is ultra important, even if you have the goal of being the trad con, one man, one woman. Even if that's your goal, you still need to have access to a whole bunch of chicks, or you're not going to have a good selection. This is the world we live in now.
There has not been, in the history of humanity, across any culture, any book, any story, any fable, there has never been across the history of humanity any respect put on the name of a promiscuous female, ever. Ever. You name the biggest conquerors that you can possibly name from history. Genghis Khan, Alexander the Great, all of them. They all had 100 wives, bunch of children, Big G, conquered the world. Normal. That is normal evolutionary biology. That's how men are designed to be. There's never been a single female who's been celebrated for her promiscuity ever in history. It's always been frowned upon and disgusting. So yes, we are completely and utterly different. Yes, it's different if a woman cheats on a man.
You're facing some very serious allegations.
Correct.
Rape, human trafficking.
Yep.
Told you we'd come back to that.
And also because there's a great deal of concern about the things you say and the impact that they have on young people, on women.
I don't think the concern's about the things I say. I think the concern is for the level of influence I have and the reach I have.
Let me read you then what you have said about what you have done.
Sure.
You have said, my job was to meet a girl, go on a few dates, sleep with her, get her to fall in love with me to the point where she'd do anything I say, and then get her on webcam so we could become rich together.
I don't think that's what I personally said. I think
that's exactly what you said on your website.
No, I've never said that. That's something that you found on the internet. You are accusing me, I'm guessing, what you're trying to say is you're accusing me and you're trying to say that I'm guilty of the things I'm accused of and that I'm emotionally manipulating people.
I'm saying that you have said you emotionally manipulated people here for your own financial gain.
No, absolutely not.
It's not only about the criminal allegations. It's a much bigger issue. You've got children's organisations in the UK, you've got rape organisations in the UK, you've got the police naming you by name as someone who has a harmful influence on children and on women in the UK and elsewhere because of the things you say, because of the way you present gender relations, the way you say men should treat women.
That's very upsetting. And the reason that's very upsetting is because I know that's not true. I'm genuinely a good person. I believe my impact on the world is positive.
The reason we're asking you about these comments is because we've got the chief executive of Rape Crisis naming you individually as spreading a dangerous ideology of misogynistic rape culture.
Absolute.
It's the comments you make that are leading people to say things like this.
Absolute garbage.
National organisations who are saying that are blaming you for increasing levels of misogyny. Schools that are saying they are having increased incidents of girls being attacked, of female teachers being harassed.
If that was
by
true,
pupils because of you and your teaching and your influence.
That's absolute garbage. I have never, ever encouraged a student to attack a teacher, male or female, ever. I preach hard work, discipline. I'm an athlete. I preach anti-drug. I preach religion. I preach no alcohol. I preach no knife crime. Every single problem with modern society, I'm against.
The problems in the previous clips are clear, I hope, but the BBC interviewer does a good job at highlighting the importance of challenging Tate's influence. His fanbase is largely made up of young boys and teenagers who are highly impressionable and are at a stage in their lives where they're still figuring out what their own values are. These children idolize Tate and likely take what he's saying to be truth, and as the interview mentioned, may act out as a result. Tate also has a large influence over adult men who watch his content, who may have had similar values to Tate before watching him, but had them celebrated and expanded upon by his content, leading to abusive and potentially violent behavior. I believe that deplatforming Tate and creators like him is important, and I think the urgency of this will become apparent as these adolescent boys grow older and have more influence on the world around them. On that note, thank you for watching.